A basketball weekly show on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. As always, the Grueling Truth is powered by betting.net. I am your co-host for the Indiana Basketball Weekly Show, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I'd like to welcome in my co-host, 1981 national champion, Steve Risley. How you doing, Steve?
Doing fine. Doing fine today, Mike. How are you doing?
I've been better. We need to start talking about some games where Indiana wins. This is getting a little bit repetitive.
Well,
Um,
it's our fourth loss in a row, and not something you want a streak you want to be dealing with in the last 10 games of the season, certainly, and with only 5 to go now against some rather worthy opponents.
Yeah, and let's start off. Indiana fell to Wisconsin a few nights ago. Had the lead until the end of the game. Wisconsin went on an 8-0 run led by Johnny Davis to get them the win. And when you look at this, the stat sheet, IU shot 41%, 27% from the three-point range, and actually 77.8 free throw line, no issue there. They got out-rebounded by 2. Total turnovers were 13 to 12. Indiana had 12. I mean, the Hoosiers didn't play bad. They just didn't finish.
Yeah, no, I looked at the stat sheet today, and first off, I noticed that if your last name was Davis, you were going to score 30 points.
Yeah. Or if your last name was Davison, you were going to score 20.
There you go. But, well, he had 21.
I know. It's 21. So if your name's Davis or
So,
Davison, you got it made.
yeah.
And when we look at it, Trayce
Well,
Jackson-Davis.
go ahead.
Trayce Jackson-Davis had not played great as of late, but in this game, 30 points, 10 for 13 shooting, 10 for 14 from the free throw line, only 1 turnover, 3 blocks, a steal, 8 rebounds. So Trayce Jackson-Davis played well. Race Thompson played well, 13 points, 5 of 8, 8 rebounds also. So your big guys did the job. The issue I see here is guard play. Between Trey Galloway and Xavier Johnson, they shot a combined 6 for 24. You're not going to win too many games that way.
No, well, what this boils down to is what you've harped on for a long time. This was a game solely of our inside game versus their outside game. I mean, and what you've harped on all year is you aren't going to win games without good point guard production or guard production in terms of tempo, not just scoring, but tempo and everything. And clearly we dominated inside, putting up 43 points amongst our 2 bigs and rebounding good, doing everything well, kind of owning the inside for the whole game. And, Johnny Davis just ate us alive from the outside. So without that good guard play, defensively and offensively, Indiana's just going to be in this funk where we're going to play teams. I thought the game up until the last 2 or 3 minutes of the game really was an evenly played ball game. And I said all along, Wisconsin plays well at Assembly Hall. They've always been tough to beat at Assembly Hall for us. And here's another case in point where, like you said, for some reason, and I think it's because guards just are not controlling the tempo of the game at the end of the game or controlling the narrative at the end of the game. We're losing these close games because really nothing stands out to me statistically. Rebounding fairly even, turnovers fairly even, shooting percentages fairly even. Not enough that's going to sway a game to that great an extent. It's just where the point production's coming from, and when your guards do that, it adds another flavor to it. Of like you said, their guards tend to control the narrative a lot more than big men do, unless you're a Wilt Chamberlain or a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or a Bill Russell. Just such an absolute dominant
Hey,
center.
but remember this, all 3 guys you just named had great guards to go with them.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And all 3 of them did. Yeah. I mean, yes, of course.
Yeah, and I think the shot selection looked a lot better in the first half by feeding Jackson Davis.
Can you name the guards they had with them?
Well, you had Bob Cousy.
Mm-hmm.
Who was the guard with
Casey?
Yeah. Well, you had Sam Jones. You had Bob Cousy. I mean, yeah, Bill Russell had plenty of guards, and if you go Kareem, well, hell, you had Magic Johnson. You had Oscar Robertson before that. Who was the UCLA guard then?
Gail Goodrich.
Was it Goodrich? I thought Goodrich was a little before him. May not have been, but
I think Goodrich was there for part of it. Well, no, he was there for the Chamberlain years.
Either way, it was good. So
Yeah. Okay.
the shot
Sidebar.
selection in the first half was fine. But
Yeah.
in the second half, when the shots weren't falling, the issue I have with the guard play is this. Everybody says that, Xavier Johnson's shooting too much. You start miss. I mean, shoot or shoot. And you got to make the shot, but you can't tell a kid, don't take a shot if it's not there. I think the issue is Xavier Johnson and Trey Galloway, when they start missing, they force shots and they look out of rhythm. And when you're forcing shots, you're not going to make them. So if Xavier Johnson gets off to a great start, hits his first 4 or 5 shots, it's going to be a good night. If he misses a few, it seems like the wheels just kind of fall off.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to make of that. If it's that they're feeling the pressure to put up production, because basically, as poorly as they shot, that you pointed out in the opener here, they'd have been better off just continuing to dump the ball inside and let our bigs. It's kind of like the Tim Johnson Steve Risley matchup of Aurora versus Lawrence Central. Tim was firing from the outside, hitting everything.
And your guards sucked.
And our guards couldn't stop him, and your guys inside couldn't stop me. Unfortunately, they got off a few more shots, and, Tim just played probably the best game he's ever played in his high school career that night. And that's a great night to do it. So, but it's kind of like somewhere there's got to be some smarts in there where I said, control the narrative and say, we've been dumping the ball inside to these two guys, and they've been handling the inside. The narrative says, why, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Let's just stay with what we're doing. Instead, now these guys decide they want to start taking over and shooting the ball, and the game gets a little up-tempoed a little bit. And I told you to be a little bit worried about that you didn't want Wisconsin controlling the tempo of the game. And Davis, he picked up the pace for his team and accelerated the tempo a little bit, and it just put us into a little bit of a helter-skelter mode.
Yeah, and I think when you got a guy like Johnny Davis, who may be a top 10 pick in the NBA draft, I mean, when you get to the end of the game in a close game, it's hard to stop a guy like that. And my big issue with IU is, if you remember, probably a month and a half ago, we sat here and you would say, well, he's playing too many guys. Maybe we just need to narrow this down to 7 or 8 guys.
Yeah.
The problem now is they barely got 5 that are producing. You had Parker Stewart played 22 minutes. He was 2 for 5. Tamar Bates, 0 for 5 in 12 minutes. Christian Lander, 5 minutes. Jordan Geronimo, 7 minutes. Geronimo looks a little bit lost to me. Durr played 6 minutes. And right now you're getting no point production from the bench. And I think they only scored like 10 points off the bench.
Yeah, I'm not as concerned about that.
Hey, Steve. I would say that I'm concerned about it because we don't get enough production from the starters. You need a spark off the bench, if nothing else. Right now, Wisconsin plays 5 guys at 30 minutes or more. Hell, 4 of them at 33 minutes or more, but they're getting production from them. Ben Davison, who I know a lot of Indiana fans hate Ben Davison, but I think Ben Davison would have fit in with Coach Knight and you guys back in the early 80s.
Yeah.
I mean, he was 10 for 10 from the free throw line. And yeah, he's a little chippy, but you need guys like that. This Indiana, when's the last time Indiana had a guy like that? Early 2000s?
I mean, historically, all through the Knight era, there was usually somebody chippy on a Knight team. So I think you'd have to go back 20 years to the Knight era. And Indiana has not been historically a chippy basketball team. They've seen more of it this year than we have in the past. I think that's a throwback to Mike being of that Knight disciple in thought process. But yeah, I mean, a guy like a Brad Davis, somebody just stirs the pot, knocks somebody down, changes narrative, changes the tempo, does something to alter it in a way that doesn't necessarily involve having to shoot make 5 3-pointers in a row to do it.
All right, we have a question real quick from Howie. He says the pro spread depends on the shooters contributing consistently. We have not had that all year. Comment on offensive scheme. Steve, you want to comment on the offensive scheme?
I thought in the early part of the season we had a decent offensive scheme. I thought our spacing was good. We had a method to our madness. We were dumping the ball inside. Our shot selection was real good. But with Howie, I tend to agree now. In the last 4, 5, 6 games, I think that tempo that's gone away. That offensive scream, that continuity in their offense, it's gone away, and it's gone much more individual than it was the first 2/3 of the season up to date.
And don't you think a lot of that's got to do with who you're playing now compared to what you were playing earlier?
Well, I think we're being forced into it. Yeah, I think
That's
we're
what I
being
mean,
forced
yeah.
into it. Yeah, and I think there's some guys on that team that want to be Johnny Hero, and not in a bad way. They just don't understand the concept of it ain't broke, don't fix it. Indiana was winning early, and we were building a good cushion. We were solidifying our position in the dance fairly well. We knew we had a tough second half of the schedule coming up. Man, that's tough to say. And I thought we'd be better prepared for that than we were.
Yeah, and Sefton says maybe Steve should go back to Indiana and be the coach. You don't need those kind of issues,
Steve
do you,
shouldn't
Steve?
go back to Indiana and be the coach. I do think you get a little bit of a taste of Mike's learning curve that he needs to still stay on. I'd still say coaching college basketball has to be a lot different than coaching pro basketball. I think you have to be able to coach at a much quicker pace in college basketball, because I think the game changes a lot faster in the college ranks because there's more offensive scheming going on and things like that, and a lot less one-on-one ball that you get in the NBA.
All right.
But the pro game, offensively, they're much more sophisticated than what the pros do. I believe from what I watch of it, and I think, to some degree, some of the bench coaching from that entire bench could probably elevate itself a little bit and get these kids out of the funk they're in, or get them to stay focused on what's brought them to a tie ball game with about 2 or 3 minutes to go.
Yeah, and Stewart on Twitter brings up an issue also. He says there's something that seems to happen to IU around the 14 to 10 minute mark of the second half of every game since the Illinois game, and it's true.
Yeah, we start. I almost feel like we start playing not to lose at that point and stop playing to win. And it's a common thing that happens with a lot of basketball teams that just aren't chippy, don't have that killer instinct, don't want to, that's the mentality. If you ever watch the old Batman series, you stick a bomb in Batman's hands, tie him to a pole, tie a pole to a bomb to his feet, and put a 30-minute fuse on it. And of course, within 30 minutes, he gets to his utility belt and saves the world. It's not like just Indiana Jones in the movie when the guy comes at him, with a knife and is going to chop him all to pieces. He just pulls out his gun and shoots him. You're dead. Move on. I use that analogy a lot because to me, it's what it's like. And it's a good observation on his part there that we hit that mark. The other team, Wisconsin, decided that they wanted to win this ball game. They saw the relevance of it. Everybody loves to come into Assembly Hall and win. We gave them an opportunity to do that, and they took advantage of it. We're not taking advantage of that same thing. Same thing happened at Wisconsin or at Northwestern.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I just Sefton asked earlier, what happened, or when did Wisconsin become a basketball school? They have been for a little while.
They have been since I played there.
I don't think it's since you. I mean, consistently, Dick Bennett, I think, what that his name, Coach Bennett, who was there. And I mean, they were always tough. When you had the Henneman twins right after you from Connorsville.
Larry Petty was a good center for them back when I played.
Yeah, but I mean, constantly being a good team, probably since Indiana became a not very good team, if you know what I mean. Because you had Bennett there, they go to the Final Four. What, they upset
Yoder, had
Kentucky to
Steve
one
Yoder
year?
there for a while that
Yeah.
was a decent basketball coach. Did McCallum coach there too, or did he go to? He took Yoder's spot at Ball State, I think, didn't he?
Yeah, I think so.
I think that's how
But
that went. Yeah.
except it says, sorry, Coach Knight ain't walking through that door. And I
Well,
mean, everybody knows that by now.
Yeah,
So.
and that's not the answer either. The answer is to take the personnel you got and just keep building on what you got. Maybe we were setting our sights as fans a little too high as to what this team could accomplish. Maybe we got sucked into the preseason schedule, which I still say is a factor, still to this day is a factor into whether Indiana makes
Well,
the tournament or
we
not.
talked about that on the first show we
I
did,
know,
which was 3 or
and
4
we
games
talked
into
until
it.
we finally were grateful we had something else to talk about. Because there really wasn't much else to talk about. But yeah, I just think right now, I think there's little incontinuity in the offense. Defensively, I think we've continued to get just slightly softer every game we play. Just not discernible, just slightly less willing to go out and challenge a pass, deny passing lanes, block out like we used to block out, or we should be blocking out, forcing the ball up on a controlled fast court break, controlled break. Just the little things that we've kind of, I don't know if we've stopped practicing them a little bit. I know practices get shorter as the season goes on. You start making some sacrifices in terms of either how much time you spend on doing one thing or if you even work on those things anymore and just assume they're going to be there. Again, I've not been to a practice and I've not seen how practices are conducted down there. So I can't really, I'm not going to bitch about anything or complain about it. I'm just telling you, those are all catalysts that could be affecting what's happening to this ball team. But we're losing. We're getting down to the last 2 or 3 minutes of the game. It's back to that mentality, especially with Crean, where you knew we were going to find a way to lose the game.
Yeah, and as Howie says, I'm 60 years old, raised in Bloomington, do the math. The lack of screening and ball movement before post entry is driving me nuts.
Yeah, it's gone away. It was there earlier, Howie. I mean, trust me, that's the first thing I look for because I love motion offense. I mean, I taught motion offense to my 5th and 6th graders and the 7th and 8th graders when I was coaching them, and we ran nothing but motion offense. And we played nothing but man-to-man defense. So I lived the nice principles, and these kids were better ball players because of it. I mean, when they would go on to their high schools and play, they had a better understanding of setting a good screen, of cutting off the screen, about how to defend against the screen. They had just by doing the simple things. And this team was doing a good job of that early on. There was no selfishness on this team whatsoever, and I don't think I don't see it as selfishness right now. I just see it as I got the ball, I'm going to shoot it. So I don't know. I mean, it's a bad situation for this team right now because I wrote down what they need to do. I think. I mean, you say that. Who is it? Lenardi has them still in the
Still has them
tournament
as an
as an
11
11th seed.
Yeah.
I find that hard to believe. I wouldn't put them in right now. Now with riding a 4-game losing streak, soon
Well,
to
I
be
think the thing
possibly.
that saves them right now, that 11 seed, is you had to win over Purdue, and you had to neutral site win over Notre Dame. Notre Dame's got a shot to win the ACC now. They've been on fire ever since that Indiana game. I think they're like
Well, that turns
11
that
and
into a
3 in the
quadrant one
ACC.
win then.
I don't know if it has yet, but it could. So you've got that.
Well, it will if they win the ACC.
Well, yeah, they'll be ranked in if they win the ACC. But right now, the scary thing is how much better Notre Dame's gotten. Indiana hasn't. But I will say this also: that's Mike Bray's guys that he brought in.
Oh, Mike Bray's been there 20 years too.
Yeah, and Mike Bray is a solid coach. A lot of people give him crap, but he's at a football school. He just missed the Final Four by a point or two a few years ago.
Right.
So we got Howie again. Walking it up the court cost us 4 seconds a possession. Time to make 2 screens. Shot clock, not an excuse. So
no, I don't think the shot clock's been an issue with this basketball team much at all. They get the ball up and down the court. Okay, I just think it's what they do with it once they get it in the front court. And I think they go away from the one that brung them to the dance.
And we've
And
got
in this game, when you got what 40, almost 40 points coming out of your top two inside players, those are the ones that we're dancing with. Dance with them. Don't stop. I mean, Wisconsin hasn't been able to stop them yet. Why go away from it now?
Yeah, Sefton has an off topic. What happened to Mike Jarvis, who used to coach at St. John's? I think the last job he had was gone in 2014 at Florida Atlantic. I don't know what he's doing now. Last I saw, he's a broadcaster. I know he's written a few books, but I don't think he's coaching anymore. He's older than Steve. Real quick before we go on, remember the Daytona 500 is this weekend. If you want to bet on it, we have Joe Spillman, who is now our NASCAR writer, who gives you the best bets. That'll be tomorrow on thegruelingtruth.com. If you want to bet on the Indiana game on Monday, remember, go check out betting.net. And it's not just sports betting. Betting.net compares the best online casinos. Sit right back, relax, and play the top online slots, poker, and table games. Check them out. Also, go check out Caesars Sportsbook, which is where we get most of our odds from. All right, Steve. Next up, Indiana against Ohio State. Now, Ohio State, I think, is undefeated at home this year. They're not very good on the road, but they're great at home. And, of course, we have to play them at home. The one advantage I do see here, those canceled games earlier in the year because of COVID and then because of some storms, the ice storm in Indiana or in Ohio. Ohio State has a very tough game tomorrow against Iowa at 2:30. They only get 1 day's rest, and then they have to play Indiana at home on Monday. So I think right there, that's one thing that can help the Hoosiers maybe be successful in this game.
I don't think that matters.
Come on, Steve. I'm trying to be positive.
No. That's like saying, no, that's no different than the Big Ten tournament. You're playing every other day against tougher competition too. You got to win 3 or 4 to do that. So I don't see that as an issue at all. I would rather do that than sit on my ass and not play at all until I got to face Indiana. I'd rather get out and play again.
Well, and
these guys are putting 25 minutes into a game. Come on, give me a break. They're 20-year-old college kids.
And I would think that since Indiana hammered Ohio State relatively easy earlier in the year, that Indiana did Ohio State, even if they get a big win against Iowa, are waiting to play Indiana again right now.
Yeah, I mean, this is an important game for the Buckeyes too. I mean, they're in the tournament. I don't think that's an issue there with them, but they're fighting for seeding. They're fighting for geographic location. The better they are, the more favorable they're going to be looked upon in all those categories. The better you're playing, possibly the more we're going to keep you in your vicinity, your area. Obviously, Indiana would, I think at this point, I don't know, is Indiana still a quadrant 1 win for anybody right now?
What's that, the top 30 or something, was it?
Something like that. They probably are.
I don't know if they are anymore.
But they're on the border there.
They're on the borderline. Yeah, and
but still, it's a good win to put under your belt. Put Indiana under your belt. It's a good win.
My biggest concern here, though, they really need to start winning because right now the issue could be a team like Rutgers because Rutgers has a slightly worse record. But Rutgers just blew out Illinois. They beat Wisconsin by 8 at Wisconsin. They beat Ohio State. They blew out Michigan State. That's their last 4 games, Steve. Those 4 right there are probably better than all of Indiana's best wins combined.
Mike, that may be the most prophetic statement you've ever made on me doing 7 years of radio with you or television. They really need to start winning now.
Yeah, because Rutgers is.
Yeah.
And the problem
everybody else is.
At the start of the year,
we're riding a 4-game losing streak.
Yeah.
And with 5 to go and 3 ugly games left to play. Ohio State, Purdue, and Wisconsin or Rutgers. Those are 3 games that right now you got to say we got to almost chalk those as losses and hope we can escape with a win right now.
Yeah, because right now Rutgers is the real deal. Howie says Rutgers is becoming scary. And like I said, unless you're getting 8 teams in, it's going to be hard to get in now because you had a double-digit loss to Iowa earlier in the year. And Iowa's a team sitting there that they're not on the bubble, but they're probably like a 9 or a 10 seed right now. So there's a lot of things here that can go wrong. You got to win some games. You can't just finish 500 for the rest of these games and hope you get in.
I
Because
mean,
when you
you could be looking right now at Rutgers and Indiana battling for that last spot in.
yeah, and right now Rutgers would get it.
Would get it over Indiana. Yeah,
Yeah,
they've got more
because the quality
quadrant-one
of
wins.
wins. Well,
Yeah,
that
the
and the
quality of
fact
wins
that
is higher with Rutgers. Yeah, no
and the
doubt.
other thing that they take into effect with the NCAA tournament is how you've played in your last 10 games. In last 10 games, there's no comparison. The other
No.
scary thing here is this: Michigan is playing better. They're 8-6 in the Big Ten. They're 14-10 overall.
Yeah.
Indiana's 7-8 in the Big Ten, 16-9 overall. Michigan's already beaten Indiana at Indiana. Rutgers. I mean, and when you look at it, you got Purdue, Wisconsin, Illinois, Ohio State. Those are the top four. Fifth place right now in the Big Ten is Rutgers. Rutgers is 10-5 in the Big Ten. Now they were 6-4 headed into Big Ten play. So right now Rutgers is ahead of Michigan State even. So I mean, right now for Indiana to get in, I think that they would almost have to get 10 or 9 teams into the Big Ten for them to get
Well,
in.
Indiana's going to need help. We gave up controlling our own destiny.
Well, I don't think
we're going to need help.
I don't think they gave up controlling their own destiny, because if they win out, they're going to be in the Big Ten tournament, or in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
But if they beat Rutgers, they have to beat Rutgers right now, because Rutgers' schedule's tough, just like Indiana's the rest of the way. But Rutgers, even if they lose out, are going to be 500 in the Big Ten. Indiana getting to 500 in the Big Ten is going to be a task, sitting at 7-8 right now, when you've still got to play Purdue, Rutgers, and Ohio State.
I'll tell you one thing. Purdue has one game on their calendar circled for the rest of the season. That's Indiana.
As does Ohio State from
Yeah.
when Indiana played well against them.
Yeah, but Purdue, I guarantee you, the way we treated them when they came to Bloomington, that's stinging in their minds from the minute they left, Assembly Hall the last time we played them. So that's going to be. I'll tell you, in the 4 years I played, including an NIT championship, 2 Big Tens, and a national championship, we never won in Mackey Arena.
They never wanted IU either, though, did they?
They never wanted IU, and we never won there. And that's just how tough that rivalry is, to chalk a win up in somebody else's court. So
Howie agrees.
I
He
think
says they're
Indiana
licking
right now,
their
like I
chops.
said, they're riding a 4-game winning streak. Monday, the game's Monday at 7 o'clock on Fox Sports 1. It's a must-win for Indiana. I think a loss there just puts us into, we have to win the last 4 games, and we got somebody else has to go on a little bit of a losing streak.
Well,
So
I think
we're running out of
Indiana.
quad 1 teams to play. That's the problem.
Well, it's up to Indiana. They've got to win. They've got to
Yeah.
finish, I would think, above 500 in the Big Ten. Because, I mean, competing with Rutgers, if you lose to Rutgers, then you're in all kind of shit. For lack of a
You have
better
any
term.
visual as to why they've dropped from a team that was, for most of the season, shooting at a 50% clip from 2-point down to, they mustered 41%.
Well, I will tell you this, because
against
I
Wisconsin.
see, number one, IU Twitter is one of the most toxic fan bases I've ever seen. For people destroying Tyra Buss, or whatever the hell her name is.
Yeah, that was horse
And
fucking too.
for the way people treat the players and the coach. I mean, this is Mike Woodson's first year. Would you expect to win a national championship because he knows Bobby Knight? And, I mean, when you talk about this, I mean, people, I think, just need to chill out. I mean, we'll come on. Jack R. says, I think we can beat Ohio State. I think we can, too. But when you talk about shooting, there's not much Coach Woodson can do about that, because you know yourself, you can go out and shoot in practice. It's a hell of a lot different than shooting in a game. And I think that the losses have hurt the confidence. Confidence is one thing you have to have as a shooter. So I also think that shooting can be something that kind of like a common cold, where one person gets it and everybody else is shooting the ball well. But I also think that it's one of the things where, just like free throws, we've talked about this in the past. If you have a dude that's missing these free throws, next guy comes up, he's pressing because the other guy missed them. I think all this just kind of snowballs. And I think that if you would have told me at the start of this year with a new coach, with Rob Fittesy missing as much as this season he's had, that Indiana would be 16-9 and have a shot to get to the NCAA tournament, most people would have been all right with it. I think the really bad thing to me about the early season schedule was it made people think this team was better than what they were, and it may have made these players think they were better than what they were.
Yeah, there's some truth to that, although this whole thing really was going along at a good clip. My expectations were for them to easily dance this year. I thought that we had retained enough talent, brought some good talent coming into the team, and I really thought Mike would, as he has done, would get these guys playing IU basketball as we all know it. And I thought that all happened until the last 5 games, and you go on this 4-game losing streak. It's shooting. I don't know what caused our shooting just to fall off the face of the earth. Your whole theory of catching a cold in somebody else, hell, I stood next to Kitchell all I could do, and I could never shoot like that.
Yeah, but the rest of the team could shoot.
I would rub Kitchell's arms. Steve. I would rub Kitchell's arms after practice. I'd go up and rub his shoulders and neck, and hopefully that some of that shooting juice would slide into my hands.
Yeah, but Steve, they didn't let you
I had the courage to take a jump shot outside of 3 feet.
What I was talking about, it would have been like Kitchell and Whitman. If one of them's off, maybe the other one picks it up. But those guys were overly confident. Your team was really confident.
Yeah.
So if you were missing shots, you could figure out other ways to win the game, which would be defense, which would be making the extra pass. Making the extra pass is something we very rarely see over these last 5 or 6 games.
Yeah, I remember one time I hit a 20-foot jump shot from the baseline, and I watched it go in. I ran down court looking at my hands going, how the hell? What just happened there? I'm the happiest guy in the world. I was patting myself all over the back as my offensive guy I was supposed to be guarding ran right by me and dunked the ball for a breakaway layup because I was too busy patting myself on the back for making a 20-foot jump shot.
Yeah, and it
Guess
wasn't
what I didn't do
the
rest of the Guess what I didn't do the rest of the game?
Play?
Shoot another. Yeah, that too. Shoot another 20-foot jump shot because I didn't play.
Yeah, but overall, I mean, I have issues with personnel in this team, guys that I don't think are doing everything they could be doing.
No, and I don't think it's lost. I don't think it's lost that we're out of the tournament. I mean, if Lenardi's pretty good about those things, and now we're latching on to which is what I hate, is what sports writers think. Because
what do you
we
think
don't know
of a
what
guy named Ryan P?
What do you guys think of this guy named Ryan P? I don't know, who is Ryan P? Jack R.
That sounded dirty the way you said it.
What?
That sounded dirty the way you said it.
Jack R.
What's Ryan P's last name?
Jack R.
Didn't mean to type that. Okay, never mind. We'll act like it never happened, Jack. All right.
Thanks for clearing that up because I'm thinking, oh, my.
But, I mean, I saw Ohio State play Xavier in person. They didn't look that good. Xavier pretty much took care of it.
No, they're not.
Of course, Xavier is a top 25 team, and that was at Xavier.
Ohio State's a very beatable basketball team. The way this team's playing right now and the fact that they haven't been beaten at home doesn't bode well for anything other than us sitting here and saying the odds are against Indiana Monday at 7 o'clock on Fox Sports 1.
But don't you, I mean, this is the thing I get. I mean, I watched Woody play all throughout his career. Aren't you just waiting for this team to come out at some point and get it, and everything will be fine? I really do, but now I'm starting to wonder if that's even possible.
I don't think they're that far off because statistically, if you look at this team,
I don't either.
They're playing everybody dead even into the game except for
but see, the
shooting's the only thing I can glaringly say is off from where it was, and we were winning ball games. I just think right now, having been in this situation, everybody's play elevates right now. Everybody gets a second win. Everybody gears up. Everybody, not just us talking about Indiana and where they're positioned to dance. Everybody else is doing the same thing. And there are some teams right now that are just a lot better equipped than Indiana to be dealing with that and making things happen. I have to see it. I have to see Indiana come out and play well against Ohio State, win that ball game, win it on a last-second shot. I don't care how you win it. Just post a
win it.
W. Just win. Get out of Columbus with a win.
All right, real quick, if you want to bet on Ohio State and Indiana, find the best place to bet for you. Betting.net offers expert and user reviews for every online sportsbook and casino in your state. You can also go down in the comments section or description section underneath this show on YouTube, and you'll find a link to Caesars Sportsbook where you can go ahead and place a bet. Also, we have some more comments here. Howie is waiting. He'd be happy with a solid screen and a hard cut. Sefton. Remember Cool Runnings. We are back and we'll be racing Saturday morning. Winter Olympics 2022. All right, Sefton, you need to get us the Jamaican bobsled team on Survive and Advance at some point.
At least one guy.
All right, here we go. Jack R. What I meant to say is Ryan Phillips, who was on Assembly Call. He has been spreading rumors about Dane Fife. Ryan Phillips said Dane almost got fired before the season. I think it's baloney. I would have to say this. I don't know who Ryan Phillips is. I've heard of Assembly Call. I really don't care. Chances are it's a bunch of baloney. Either way, I mean, this is Mike Woods' team. You got Mike Woodson and Thad Matta here running this show. Thad Matta was a highly successful basketball coach at Ohio State, Butler, and Xavier. He knows what he's doing. I think the Indiana Hoosiers are fine. I think people just expected way too much of a first-year coach coming into the situation, Steve. Any comments on Ryan Phillips and Assembly Call?
I've heard of Assembly Call, but I don't listen to them on a frequent enough basis. I think they subscribe. It's a subscription base to me, and when we put out the quality work we do for free, I know, why would you pay to listen to Assembly Call?
Yeah, who's Ryan Phillips?
Who's Ryan Phillips?
Did he play in the 1981 National Championship game,
how many
Steve?
championship rings does Ryan Phillips have?
Yeah.
NIT rings, Big Ten rings. You know, so I know, and I don't know who Ryan Phillips is, so I'm not slamming Ryan Phillips. I don't want to get in a pissing match with. I don't want to get in a pissing match with Assembly Call. They do a great job. They're on frequently, and they cover it very thoroughly. At times, I have read what they have said. So,
well, Jack R says he thinks he did. I like that. He thinks he played in the 81 championship game. I think that's what he means. Did. Which makes that a funny ass comment by Jack. So,
okay,
thanks,
way to
Jack.
go, Jack.
You lightened up our evening.
Yeah, it made me fun. So, I don't know. I don't think Dane is, to my knowledge, in any position of where he's in jeopardy of losing his job right now. I think that he's a favorite son down there. I'm sure Thad likes him a lot. Mike's got to respect what he knows. I don't know. I have no knowledge of what would lead that statement to have validity. So,
well, Howie says, I think we expected a more emotion type scheme. My take on that, Steve, is this. Even if that's what Coach Woodson wants to do, I don't know if he's really got the players to pull that off right now.
No, he doesn't really. And most teams are zoning us anyway.
Yeah.
So motion doesn't work as effectively in a zone as it will. You can still run motion against a zone, but it's a lot harder to do. And you got to be a lot more regimented and efficient to do it. We had zone offenses even with night when teams would zone us. We had, 3 in, 2 out, triangle, high-low, 3 out, 2 in, depending on who we were playing and where the personnel was falling for our opponents. But we had separate zone offenses that we would initiate and run. And then when we forced them out of the zone and then to man-to-man, then we go right into motion. And we, as you said, we had enough good shooters. It didn't matter. So,
yeah,
I don't think that the talent is missing from IU. I just think it's not gelling right now, not coming together, and that's a fixable problem. It's what's not fixable is to not have the talent. That's not fixable at this point in the season. Let's say, hey, let's chalk this up and age everybody 1 year and go on to next year. But that's not it. This is not a. This is something that could right itself Monday
Yeah.
against Ohio State. It
All
could
it
very
takes is a win.
easily. All it takes is a win, guys, and we're back on the court, and we're in the hunt, and we're being talked about not as an 11 seed or a bubble team, but somebody that's gonna And the other thing we have the opportunity to is remember the Big Ten tournament's played at I don't even know what that place is called now. Bankers Life,
Who
Conseco.
knows?
They
Marcus,
changed it.
I prefer
Marcus
Marcus
Square.
Square
I
Arena.
played in Marcus Square. How old am I? I played in Marcus Square Arena.
Oh, I used to go watch Pacer games at Market Square Arena.
Yeah, so did I.
All right,
I
Jack
used to
R
go up and
says, I love Jared and the other guys. I assume that's assembly call guys, but I just
yeah.
don't, when people like Ryan spread rumors and act like they know more about basketball than Mike Woodson when they don't. But isn't that like 99.9% of all sports media?
Hey, I don't know as much as Mike does. We played together as teammates and we went through the same process together. But Mike stayed with that while I went on to sell legal drugs.
Howie says, I think it was that Dane was not Woody's first choice. Well, I can tell you this, though. If I was Mike Woodson, I wouldn't want Dane to be my assistant coach because he's like the next guy in place if something bad happens.
Yeah, I think we're barking up the wrong tree here entirely. I know Dane and I know Dane very well, and I know Mike very well, and I don't see a rift between those two. They both have a strong desire to make Indiana relevant again in a prominent power.
Well, and how about this? You talk about that. Guys that make rumors like that, a lot of times they're just taking a shot in the dark because they're trying to be relevant.
That could be too. And again, I don't know Ryan, so I don't want to bash Ryan.
We're not bashing Ryan. We're just saying that, put it like this. If he had those rumors, what were his sources? My guess is he wouldn't give a source. And when people don't give their sources,
they're rumors.
Yeah, they're rumors. They're nothing else.
They're just rumors. Without your sources, they're just rumors.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I agree. But I don't see that as the problem with this basketball team. So I wouldn't take that anywhere else.
So, remember.
So we're four games to the loss column. What I think we need is a quad one win on the road. We get that at Ohio State, right?
Yep.
We need a quad one win at home. As Rutgers comes here, right? Doesn't Rutgers come to Bloomington?
Yes, they do.
Then I'm going to consider that a quad one win. I'm going to say that's close enough right now, the way Rutgers is playing right now. And we probably need a quad one win in the tournament. I think if we could just garner those three,
I don't know.
I'd give up the Purdue game
in a tournament. You can lose to Purdue.
I don't want to lose the first game in the tournament.
But if you beat Minnesota, you beat Rutgers, and you beat Ohio State, I think we're going to be in the tournament.
Now?
I think if they could beat Rutgers here, beat Minnesota, beat Ohio State on Monday, that gets them to 19 wins. I think you get in the tournament. You may have to win one game early on.
To get to 20 wins would be nice.
I don't know if 20 matters that much, but
it's a nice number to have rather than a 19. 19s are generally reserved for conference championship teams that win their conference. Generally, it's gotten now to.
Oh yeah,
Jack, and Maryland's another good opportunity
Jack.
to win.
I forgot about
Jack.
Maryland.
Jack, you want to take my spot on this show? Maybe you can battle Ryan.
Jack. Yeah.
So.
Well, Ryan won't have any sources. Well, he'll have sources.
He didn't want to give up his source. Ryan didn't want to give up his sources.
Yeah. Well, what the hell? All right.
Sounds like a Democrat to me.
Oh hell, there ain't no difference. They both suck, Democrats
and
Republicans. We got something else here from Howie. As the sun sets by Steve's right here. Good night, all. Yeah, the sun's putting off a badass glare behind you.
Hey, I'm sorry. I'm in L.A., baby. It is 80 degrees here today. Sunny and beautiful.
Now Howie and Jack and everybody else listening gets to hear what I hear.
Let me get rid of it there. Not a cloud in the sky out here today.
Got
my car washed.
Yeah, I remember there were times where I would wake up in the morning and I have a text from Steve. It's 75 and sunny here. And I'm thinking it's 7 in the morning. It's dark there, Steve. But that's just...
No, not in the summer it's not. It gets light early here.
Not at 4:30, Steve.
Yeah.
All right, head over and see for yourself. Betting.net makes it easy to find all the legal online casinos or sports books in your state. Check us out at betting.net. Guys, we'll be back Monday night, approximately 9:30. Right
Our
after the
plan
game.
now is to do post-game after each game for the rest of the season.
Yeah, so we'll be here for every game all the way through the NCAA Final Four, where the Hoosiers will beat Kentucky in a national championship game. Is that not right, Steve?
I would love to beat Purdue to get to Kentucky and then beat Kentucky.
There you go. We'll beat Purdue in the Final Four, Kentucky in a national championship game.
That would be fine with me.
Or we'll just play St. John's for the NIT championship. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. Make sure you check us out on Spotify.
Ryan B. I'm calling you Ryan B. from now on.
Okay, bud. All right, and thanks for all the new listeners tonight. Make sure you check us out after the game Monday night. We'll be right back here live. We have one more comment. I'm going to start listening to you guys. Didn't know
Jack,
about this
this goes to Jack and everybody. I'm a lot more animated right after the game. You're likely to get a little more craziness out of me right after the game in terms of me being happy, pissed off, frustrated, mad.
Hey, in all fairness, the last 2 or 3 IU games, we were going to do a show after the game or the next day, but we decided not to.
Mike didn't trust me.
No, I didn't trust me because I was really pissed, and I don't want to be one of those IU Twitter people. You know, I don't want to come on here.
Bash things.
Yeah, I don't want to get on and bash a bunch of 19-year-old kids. Some people get off on that. I don't. But
I think all in all, it's been a successful year for Indiana basketball. It's a turning year.
We're in better shape than we were last year.
We're in much better shape. We've got a much brighter future in front of us, and it's only going to get better. And we're not done with this year yet by any stretch. Let's just call this our blip. Let's get a win Monday against Ohio State and finish out strong and go dancing.
All right, guys, remember to find us on YouTube. Like and subscribe there. You can follow us on Twitter at Grueling Truth. You can follow Steve. Make comments to Steve at srisley34. Follow me at Grueling Truth. Go to our Facebook page. Like us there. We're on over 300 different media outlets, including iHeartRadio, Spotify. You name it, we're on it. But for now, guys, we will see you Monday night after the Indiana-Ohio State game. So for Steve Risley, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been watching and listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.